answering that question. Entrepreneurship. The Tony Elumelu Foundation wants to know what your plans are for promoting entrepreneurship in Nigeria.
I can start. Okay. Thank you. This is the direction. If this economy is going to improve, it has to go the direction of the private sector. The business of government to make an enabling environment for the private sector to really strive, to work hard, and we get the maximum out of our own people. It is the belief of the ACN, and indeed myself and my team, that it is Nigeria, the Nigerian people, that you must invest in. Investing in the people is what is going to address the problems. And people are in the private sector. So everything that we do is going to be towards investing in the Nigerian people. How do we do that? Make the environment conducive. The government responsibility is to ensure that you have law and order. Make sure that rules and regulations are simplified and they are in a way that can encourage not just Nigerian businessmen, but foreign direct investment to also come in. How do you do that? Change the processes.
I'm afraid, Malam Nuribadu, I have to go for an ad break. I apologize.
You will change the customs?
When we come back, graduates that can't write and children who have to carry their chairs to school. We examine the rot in our education system and the costs to the nation after the break. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, you're watching the 2011 NN24 Presidential Debate. My name is Kadria Ahmed of Next Newspapers. Now, gentlemen, we have a system of public education that produces graduates that are barely literate. What are your plans to give young people the sort of education that you all received? And I'd like to start with General Muhammadu Buhari.
Well, there's nothing wrong with our educational system, but we need improvement in the sense that the tertiary institutions, the UBE, the 3 tiers of government, local, state, and the center, must finance the UBE effectively. And then we try and introduce professional training in terms of whether children are going to be taught to become electricians, plumbers, panel beaters, and those who are able by their talent to go forward to the intellectual side for the tertiary institution, they will be allowed to do so. But the federal government must effectively supervise the financing of the UBE. There are cases where counter-funding is not forthcoming from some of the states and the local government. This is denying Nigerian education. And then there should be more of the trade schools so that children, when they go out, they can be given some amount of money. This can be arranged with banks and other financial institutions according to either geopolitical zones or states, so that people come from school, they can start businesses. They don't have to depend on government.
Now, I don't know if I heard you correctly and whether I misunderstood you, but you seem to be suggesting that you don't see anything wrong with our educational system. And yet, forgive me if I'm wrong, your children are being educated privately or were educated privately and not in public schools. Why is that?
Yeah, any person who can afford to educate his child, I think should be allowed to do it. It's part of the democratic system.
Okay. Malam Nuribadu, are you satisfied with the quality of education in public schools in Nigeria?
With respect to the general, I disagree with him totally. There is a problem with our education sector. I'm from education family. My father, my brothers, we have schools in our family. I went to school and I did not pay a penny all through my education up to university. Today, I'm paying dearly for my 6 children. So much money that it's almost impossible for you to say that today Nigerians are getting what they deserve or they are entitled. Education in Nigeria is in tatters, in problems, because 75% of our students do fail this all in the last 4 or 5 years. 75% is extremely serious. Go to the universities and see the infrastructures there. In my own room in Ahmadu Bello University, where I stayed, I went back about 2 months ago. I was alone in that room. When I went back, I met 8 students. And each and every one of them pays as much as 10,000 naira. Their families and their parents are poor. There is a problem. There has to be a solution. What do we need to do? First and foremost, we need to invest more. UNESCO says that for a country like Nigeria to make it, you need to invest at least 26% of your budget into education for you to make a difference.
Malam Ribadu, it's kind of, we can sort of talk about throwing money at the problem, but where's this money going to come from? There are so many competing needs.
I need to tell you that because education is the foundation. Without education, there will be no hope for you to do any other thing. You need to pay attention to that. One, if you put in money, the difference with the government that we intend to run is that you will get value for this money. It's not like what is happening now. We will follow it. We will insist that our schools must be run professionally. Our schools must be run like business. We are not going to allow business as usual. We saw what happened when Obi Ezekwesili was a minister in this country. She came out with a
I'm
figure.
afraid I'm going to have to stop you there. Malam Ibrahim Shekarau, I believe you actually have some sort of education background. I was told that you started out as a teacher. So perhaps you have a sort of different understanding of this problem as an insider. Can you share with us how you see this issue?
Well, I think there are 2 fundamental issues. You see, for any education system to thrive and get quality education, there are 2 issues that have to be addressed. One, the teacher provision and the provision of instructional materials. Any other thing is secondary. Unfortunately, since the days of the UPE of 1976, we have been expanding, of course, as a result of the explosion in population throughout the Federation, but the provision of teachers and training and provision of instructional materials has not been commensurate with the expansion. What we end up today in our schools, they are more like refugee camps. You bring in, the government build the schools, bring in the students, and you keep clapping that you have built schools. How much of the teacher provision have we addressed? How much of the instructional materials have we addressed? This is why when I came in 2003, in Kano, for example, one of the major things I addressed is the teacher provision. At the secondary school level, I found slightly more than 4,000 teachers on ground. You'll find a school without a science subject, without a teacher in physics, without a teacher in chemistry, without a teacher in mathematics. Between 2003 to date, I have employed over 6,000 fresh secondary school teachers, which is twice the number. Of course, the issue of infrastructure, classroom dilapidation, and so on is still there, but it is one thing at a time. It takes you 1 jump to fall into a ditch. It takes you 1,000 jumps before you come out. We've neglected all of these factors for too long. The only solution is that we commence rigorous drive in teacher provision, teacher training, upgrading their quality and ensuring that the right facilities of instructional facilities are provided, laboratory, workshops, and so on. Because if you don't do that, and this is not limited to primary, secondary,
I'm afraid
universities.
I'm going to have to stop you. Your time is up. Now, something that is as important as education in this country is the issue of health. Our public health care is in a dismal state. I want to hear what your plans are for reforming the healthcare system.